Morning everyone. This video was part of a series that explores Ozymandias by Percy Bysshe Shelley. This particular video is about which poems would compare well with Ozymandias. There are also a few exam style questions in here too. As always, there's a link in the description to the other videos, as well as a link to the slides if you want them. Now in terms of which poems compare well with Ozymandias, it's difficult to say without knowing what the theme of the question is. For example, if the question's theme was about the power of humans, My Last Duchess would work really well as a comparison poem. However, if the question's theme was about the power of nature, it would be quite difficult to use My Last Duchess as a comparison poem. Something like Storm on the Island would work much better. Now let's go through a few potential questions and which poems would work. Obviously, this is not a complete list. I'm only going to give a couple of questions and 2 poems that could work. It's up to you to decide if you agree and why those particular poems would work. If you want to take these questions and use them as exam practice, feel free. Wouldn't it be great if you walked into the exam, opened the paper, and saw it was a question that you had already written an essay to during your revision? So, first question. Compare the ways poets present the power of nature in Ozymandias and in one other poem from Power and Conflict. Now for this one, an obvious poem that comes to mind is the Prelude by Wordsworth, and the idea that humans are nothing in comparison to the power of nature, something that is touched upon at the end of Ozymandias. And a second one could be Exposure by Owen, and looking at the conflict between nature and humans as he's attacked by nature in the trenches. With people dying from the cold, nature proves itself to be the true power, kind of like in Ozymandias. Next question. Compare how poets present the power of humans in Ozymandias and in one other poem from Power and Conflict. For this question, I think both London by Blake and Checking Out My History by Agard would work well, and for similar reasons. They're both to do with oppression and the control that some people have over others. Think about the control that Ozymandias had over those that were weaker than him. Or, an interesting idea could be to think of the control that the artist had over Ozymandias. For the third question, we have compare how poets present the theme of transience in Ozymandias and in one other poem from Power and Conflict. Transience is the idea that nothing lasts forever. I don't think you'd get a question that's worded that way in your exam. It's quite a difficult word, but it's still an interesting question. I think that Wordsworth's Prelude would work well, and the idea that the mountain will outlast the human. So humans are transient, we don't last forever, but mountains have been here for millions of years. Similarly, in Darkest Tissue, the things that we rely on, such as paper, don't last forever. Even our flesh, our tissue, doesn't last forever. Compare that with how Ozymandias' reach, power and influence don't last forever either. The next question is a bit of a challenge question. It could be quite difficult. Compare the ways poets present the power of art and culture in Ozymandias and in one other poem from Power and Conflict. In terms of culture, you've got the Emigre, Kamikaze or Checking Out My History that could work. But I think the art angle works better for this one, if you think of the statue as being a work of art. My Last Duchess would work here, as the Duchess lives on and is preserved in the painting, just like we know about Ozymandias, as his legacy lives on through the artwork about him. Also, I think if you consider photography to be an art form, then war photographer would work for this question too. Think about the impact that the war photographs have when they are put in the Sunday paper, or the impact that the photographs have on the photographer's life. Compare that with the impact that the sculptor's skills in Ozymandias have had. And finally, an exam question for those of you that want to challenge yourselves and test your knowledge. No help or ideas from me. This one's out of 30 marks, and it says, compare how poets present the theme of pride in Ozymandias and in one other poem from Power and Conflict. Pause the video and give it a go. You get roughly 45 minutes for a poetry question, and remember, all that you should have in front of you is a blank copy of Ozymandias, the question, some lined paper, and a pen. No notes or anthologies. Challenge yourself and see what you can do. And that's all for today's video. I hope you found it useful. If you did, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons, it really helps out with YouTube's algorithms. Thanks for watching, and happy revising.